Our ancestors built the first city as a beacon of peace on Earth. And it almost was. Until one night, an unseen force plucked it from the very face of the Earth and placed it under unfamiliar stars. It was a bountiful world with no sign of civilization. A world we named Paragon. With no way to return home, we adapted. New governments were built from the seeds of our past, and with them grew new ways of life. But the vices of old still festered. Organized crime bled out from the shadows and took root, preying on the foundation of our new home. But this world had one more surprise in store. A mysterious element in the atmosphere that gave a fraction of the population superhuman abilities. Under the leadership of the city's first hero, the Age of Legends had begun. 300 years later, Paragon thrives under the protection of its champions. And yet, the shadows of the past still linger. When darkness rises, it will fall to the next generation of young heroes to defend the first city. Welcome to The First City, the show where we say no to NFTs and yes to NPCs.
Wow, very true.
Wow.
Oh my
Topical.
God. He's topical and he's funny.
Yeah, last time on First City, Helix, after recovering from his injury, thanks to the appearance of Haramon's brand new healing hair power, decided to show you all a bit of his life, his backstory, if you will. He brought you to his parents' house after Silhouette did some research, sort of figuring things out for herself, and he shared with you basically the secrets, or at least a fraction of the secrets of his life pertaining to his family and why he had to fight Blackjack in order to get enough money to buy back the house he grew up in. He also confided in you that he does, in fact, trust you and feel a pull to this group and a pull to be closer to his own team, the rest of Team Tonitrus. After many deep, heartfelt, gut-spilling conversations, he asked you guys for help in his fight with Blackjack, just to support him. Though he did not ask you to fight, you did agree to do so, and after a little bit of party composition, a mixture of Team Pantheon and Team Tonitrus worked together and defeated the mob boss known as Blackjack. Quite easily, if I might add. And as you made your way discreetly outside into the alleyway and down a bit, you found up on a rooftop, very nearby, overlooking the alleyway and revealing himself to have been watching the entire fight, was Tonitrus, standing with the beginning, crouching really, with the beginning of a smile, which then faded into a neutral expression. Framed by moonlight, we pick up there as he watches you, just for a strange, long moment. You see he turns over his wrist on his black sort of shining gauntlets that he has, and he seems to actually type something in on a panel. And you see a small purple light, and then coming up from his belt are a series of these small, like barely dragonfly-sized flying things that make almost no sound as they move. They're actually disc-shaped, and they hover. They all begin to blink with this purple light. They magnetically attach themselves to these walls, and then you see a shimmering field come into view. A small one just around the group, and immediately it creates a bubble, a familiar bubble of sound dampening, where you don't really hear what's going on outside of where you are. And Tonitrus, ever so silently, rappels down with a sort of a grappling feature on one of his Eskrima sticks. And as he rappels down amongst you, landing softly on his feet, he steps up between you. And you see that his team, minus Helix, who is not here, he's off having his meeting with Blackjack, his team immediately comes to some sort of attention. As he steps between you, sort of standing, not in the middle of you guys, if you're framed like a circle, I figured you guys are kind of more clumped up.
I think I would like to live in a world where, in a future, where almost everyone has a passing knowledge of sign language, and most people have like a pretty fluent in it. So I think Haramon was getting ready to sign at him, but as soon as like he does all this stuff, they just like put their hands down and put them behind their back.
Baby will kind of line up too.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy will just kind of like take a seat on something, like just pull a trash can or something.
Okay. His purple glowing eyes pass over each of you before they land on his team. And he says to them, Ivy, QuickTime, Boomerang, I need you to remain here discreetly and wait for Helix. He's in no more danger from Blackjack, but I want you to make sure that he gets home. Take no further action, and if he takes longer than an hour from now, contact me. Ivy nods, and he turns his attention to you guys, and they instinctively sort of break. QuickTime squeezes your hand, Haramon, very quickly, and she gives you like a... before the three of them head back inside. And then he turns back to you guys. He goes, the rest of you follow me. And he turns and begins to stride down a narrow offshoot of the alleyway.
Should we follow him? I mean,
Yes. I just Silhouette just like kind of looks over and to the rest of her team and just follows him.
I'll follow Silhouette.
I'll follow BB.
I bring up the rear.
He turns down this narrow alleyway and eventually into a wider alleyway that's between the back sides of two different buildings. And it looks like this is big enough for sort of a driveway where cars could actually fit back here, probably for like offloading, you know, various supplies for whatever stores these might be or businesses they might be. And you see that actually as you were walking, he reached and typed something yet again on his gauntlet. And you all heard a sound in the sort of middle distance. It sounds like the sound of a vehicle, a car even, but it's very electric, and the hum of it doesn't come to a roar like a car in, you know, our time might, especially one that looks like this. But you see driving itself, pulling around into this alleyway, is what those of you, especially who like know your hero lore, so definitely BB, definitely Silhouette, probably Jeremy, and like you know Tonitrus somewhat from your studies, so like you know what Tonitrus's car looks like, and this is it. And as it turns the corner and it parks itself in front of you, you see what is essentially modeled after a shining, like slate black vintage muscle car. But then upon a closer look, you see that it actually has this very delicate angular sort of armor plating all around it with these fins coming off of the back. And there are purple glowing lights that match the purple glowing sort of LED lights that run like rivulets throughout his costume. they run also along the seams and creases of the car and between the armor plating, and they glow in that sort of tail light area, and you know that there's probably some sort of energy source back there that can make the car move faster. You also see that the windows and the windshield are all tinted dark. You can't see into them at all. It is a 4-door vehicle. And as it approaches, the door actually opens itself, and you see, of course, that there is no driver. He turns to you all, and he goes, Haramon, up front, please.
Oh, shit. I go, like, shotgun? This is not in character.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn. All right. I would like to note that Haramon is still in full disguise.
Mhm.
And only when they get in the car and the doors closed do they, like, take it down.
Mhm.
But yes, yep. Mm-hmm.
And he opens the back door himself. It doesn't open itself. He actually opens it manually and gestures to the rest of you.
BB gets in.
Same.
Inside, you find a very like plush black leather seating, ample seating, and the console up front, Haramon, as you're sitting here, you see is very elaborate. There are lots of buttons and screens and things up here. It is very much like James Bond car up here. And you see that there is an area for like a separator to appear between the front and the back, but it's not actually like out at the moment. It is still open. And in the back, I think just with your guys' keen perception, as all three of you are squeezed in together, one of you in the middle seat, and you guys can tell me who's in the middle seat.
Who's in the middle?
There are seat belts, and he does, once he slides into the driver's seat, he turns back to you and he goes, seat belts, please.
I'm not an idiot. I wear my seatbelt.
BB will take the middle seat, I think.
Oh,
Okay.
And as she does, she'll say, I've imagined riding in this car and driving this car a lot before. I've never imagined it from the back seat.
And looking around, BB, I think as you're saying this and you're sort of taking it in, you notice that there are creases and elements to this seating that you can very quickly surmise are sort of like things that slot away, that at the press of a button, there are things that could come out and restrain people who are in the back seat.
whoa.
If they wanted to. You can only begin to guess at the features present inside of this vehicle. And you close the doors, and without another word, he begins to drive back out onto the main streets. It's a Sunday night, so it's not particularly busy. And you find you are still in Subterra Neon, but you find that there actually is a way to drive out of Subterra Neon. And it angles up and it comes out not in the middle of a busy like downtown street, like offshoot in an abandoned looking building or like up out of a pool, the way that the walk-in entrance does, but it actually like ramps up and out onto a side street. And you can see that he drives sort of into the downtown area. And once you guys, break through that barrier of the first few minutes and crest out of Subterra Neon, and you realize you are headed back toward the school, only then does Tonitrus actually say something to you.
It's been silent this whole time.
He has.
No, but like there's no music. It's just a silent ride until this point.
Oh, yeah.
I think you know that feeling when there's a baby and you want to hang out with the baby, but it's like, I can't just ask to hold this baby. It's weird.
My mom did that one time. Oh, we were
With a
sorry.
stranger?
Yeah, we were out to dinner and this table next to us had like a newborn baby. And I was with my mom and dad, and my mom was like, "Oh my god, the baby is so sweet." And they're like, like talking and stuff. And then she was like, "Can I hold your baby?"
I
Shout
can
out to your
safely say
mom.
I've never seen anyone do that before.
Yeah, this is not the first time. Well,
Oh
it
my
was the
God.
first time I experienced it with her, but she's done it since. And people are like, "Yeah,
Wow.
yeah," and because like especially because I was with them, they were like, "Okay, you have a kid. You're not gonna like run away with my baby."
You're not gonna steal my child.
Yeah, no, my mom will literally be like, "Oh my god."
Amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that feeling of like I want to hold the baby, but I know I can't is sort of how Harriman is just looking at every single button that is within their reach, but they know they can't touch the whole time until he speaks.
I think Jeremy, like the whole silent ride, has just been kind of like playing the thigh drum and whistling softly to himself while looking out the window.
Oh my god. Beautiful.
That's so good. Oh god, the discomfort in this actually very comfortable vehicle.
It's his fault. He's the one that's being
I feel like BB and I are just kind of like
Oh, absolutely. Just fully uncomfortable, unsure of what to do or say. Want to know where we're going.
Mhm. So, again, once you realize that you are headed back to the school, he finally says, without taking his eyes off of the road, without moving his head toward anyone in particular, he says, "Is there anything you'd like to tell me?"
About what in particular? Like, obviously, you know what just happened tonight.
He nods.
I need like specifics because there is a lot of stuff that happens in our lives that you might want to know. I don't know.
He lets out this long breath. Well, what you choose to tell me about tonight also serves the secondary purpose of telling me what you deem most important here.
Helix is starting to trust all of us. I think that's pretty important. Something that hasn't really happened before. Other than that, I don't really know how to answer that question.
I thought your disguise was pretty good. If maybe could have spent a little more time on the mask, but
Well, you didn't hear the voice he threw, to be fair. And Harriman looks over their shoulder. I mean, the truth about tonight is just we refused to let Helix put himself in a position where he could get seriously hurt again or worse because we care about him. Am I happy about it? Not really. But
I am grateful for what you did for him. And I am pleased to see him spending more time with you and with the rest of his team. He doesn't say much more than that. The drive doesn't take very long. You guys also notice as you're like looking out the windows, this car's going fast, but it does not feel from the inside like a car that's going fast. And it's only a few minutes before you arrive at the front of the school. He opens up the door and he steps out. You see that he actually does drive, like he skirts sort of along the campus until he finds the road in. If anybody's ever driven in a college, there's always that sort of like you're on the side streets around the college and then you turn sort of into the campus, but there's a road that winds through that doesn't necessarily go like into the school, but it skirts you around to the various parking lots. It's like the parking lot route, you know? He does that until he gets to a parking lot that is adjacent, like a public parking lot that is adjacent to where the entrance to the Hero campus is. That has actually been hastily reconstructed after Jeremy kind of destroyed it. And he does open the door and he steps out of the car.
Thanks for the ride.
Do you guys like actually get out of the car also?
No,
Oh,
yeah.
we stay in
You
there.
just stay in there
it's a
forever.
power move.
Yeah.
We don't move.
Oh, comfortable in here.
I follow BB as she gets out of the car, and is Tonitrus still in the car?
No, he got out of the car, but he's standing next to it.
Oh, okay. I think I'm assuming everyone else got out, but I think once we're all out, I probably look over at Tonitrus, and Silhouette asks or if we're in trouble. Like, she's just kind of like, or so like, are we in trouble?
If you are, it's not from me.
Okay.
What you are in is training, which I believe is somewhat overdue. If you would please continue to follow me.
Why do I have a feeling he's just gonna just beat us up now?
I
He
feel
just he takes us to a room and he beats the shit out of every single one of us.
I feel like when Haramon closes, oh fuck. I feel like when Haramon closes the front passenger door after he says, if you would please follow me, they just come out and say it. They just ask, were you very close with him as a kid?
What the hell?
You see that he looks around, and as soon as you guys have all stepped out of the car, he types again, and the car closes all of the doors by itself, turns and drives off down the road and disappears out of sight by itself.
Damn.
And
Oh, the car does.
yeah, the car drives itself away.
I thought you said he got in the car and then drove.
He said,
No, the
"I'm
car,
leaving."
he programs the car to close all of its doors and drive itself away
Okay.
to somewhere that you don't really know.
All right.
Probably a garage.
And
The beach. The car took itself out to the beach.
he responds to Haramon. He says, that is not a conversation for out here. But please don't get me wrong. It serves no one for me to scare you. Nor is it my intention to scold you for your actions tonight. However, there are some things that need clarification. And I would be remiss in my duties as your teacher if I did not explore those questions now while they are most relevant. So again, I ask you if you would please follow me.
It follows him.
I'll follow.
Yeah.
Quick sidebar: what classes are we taking right now? Because like, I completely forgot that we were like actually supposed to be the normal students.
Oh, you're not. I mean, that's the thing, right? It is still in that summer off time where normally students of the like regular campus are not necessarily in their regular season. This is the preliminary sort of getting ready for getting your preliminary sort of training licenses.
Yeah, we're getting our BA in superhero.
Yeah.
Yes.
The idea of like you guys taking classes concurrently with your hero studies, the idea of that begins after this preliminary phase. When this first term ends and the regular school term begins and you have your licenses, presumably, Then it will be up to you to decide if you are a full-time hero student or if you are a student of the school who is also heroing.
Yeah, if you
Balancing
think
that
tuition
schedule will
now is
become your
awful-
responsibility.
What did you say,
Jeremy and I
Natasha?
both didn't know.
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah, if you think tuition now is awful, superhero tuition's a whole other story."
Get ready for those first city loans.
There's no loan forgiveness in First City.
Yeah, actually, this school largely runs on donations and the money of like the people who run it. So people don't, especially the hero campus, like you don't really pay to go
Quick
here.
step.
It's
Pays
all
for
Mr.
everything.
Menagerie's parents.
Yeah.
And Quick Step.
Mhm.
So he walks you through the security clearance, deeper into the hero campus, to a place that you've actually been relatively recently and a few more times since in your training with Pantheon that we've sort of done off screen. And that is to the battlefield, or rather the battlefield as it's known, because it is 2 words hyphenated, not the word battlefield. He brings you inside, straight to the middle of this sort of short grassed football field sized environment. Moonlight streaming through the remnants of the gray clouds of the day, remaining here now in the night with stars just sort of dully poking through the haze. He takes a point just right in the middle. Where do you guys instinctively position yourselves?
Right in front of him. Like square. Probably
Mhm.
about 6 to 8 feet away,
Reasonable conversation distance away.
but also far
Mhm.
enough to prepare. Because again, we are at the battlefield, so and Tonitrus is the fighting man, so anything could happen right now.
I'll probably take a position to form kind of like a half circle around him to the side of Haramon.
Jeremy will go to his right, like 50 feet away, because he feels like some bullshit's about to happen.
As you all form this semicircle pattern, Jeremy may be a little farther away, as you said, in front of him. He begins to speak to you all. He says, "Tonight, you all demonstrated your adaptability in combat. And you emerged victorious against someone who vastly underestimated you. Blackjack is a man who above all things values strength and reputation. Because, as far as he is concerned, you don't have the latter. He knew nothing of the former. His focus was primarily aimed at Helix, and he paid for that. But you have garnered the attention of a very dangerous man.
Out of game question. Does Haramon know that? Does Haramon know about the card? I can't remember if last episode.
You definitely haven't been told about it yet.
Cool. When
You might have seen them pick something up from between them, but you haven't had a chance to read it.
when Haramon hears that, they go, "What?" And I think instinctively takes a step back and looks at their team.
Jeremy will yell from 50 feet away. He's like, "Oh yeah, here!" And he'll try to throw it over. He'll try to throw it over to Haramon.
And you see that vague invitation.
Haramon picks it up, and then almost as if it has burned them,
Mhm.
throws it away, and looks very concerned.
Tonitrus picks it up and tucks it away in his belt.
Mhm.
Wait, why?
Why? What?
Sorry. I think that was. Sorry, I don't think I meant to say that all out.
Relatable.
Wait, why? Wait, did he ask for it?
No,
He just
it's
took
not
it?
even. Well, Haramon threw it, so he picked it up off the ground.
Oh.
Now, that wasn't necessarily what he was referring to, but when he looked at it, you don't detect any surprise on his face. Granted, it's hard to detect much on this man's face, especially with this mask. And as he tucks that away, he says, "This notwithstanding, I understand that you and my team did your research, you came prepared, and you helped a friend find something that he was greatly missing. When you chose this program, you elected into a life of putting yours in danger, accepting those risks to protect others and to help others who are in need. And what you do now outside as adults is not something I can reasonably scold you for. Those are your choices. You took your own measures to protect your identities. There are some things that must be clear. Now, you all and I are overdue for some training. And in light of these events, as I said, and as Combio has made very clear to me, your adaptability has been tested to great effect. What I need to examine now is the parts of you that are constant, the parts that you do not let go. So, he adjusts his stance. He moves with the fluid, slow grace of something akin to Tai Chi as he moves himself into a position. He drops low and just waits. And he simply says, "Begin." I am not going to ask you all to roll initiative. I'm going to ask you which of you tries something first. Because he does not move.
Haramon doesn't move to attack him, but Haramon does bring out their hunting knife and gets into a stance as well, like light on the balls of their feet, ready to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Silhouette just goes invisible. She's
BB
like, fuck this shit. I'm out.
BB takes the BB belt buckle off and makes them into the brass knuckles, and then also gets stanced up.
Jeremy, like 50 feet away, he'll just make like, there's a fortification called like a star fortress. He'll just make that out of fire and just lock himself away. He's too tired for this. He's not fucking with it.
Okay,
And-
so can you describe what that is to me?
Yeah, so it's like it's after the medieval era, and it's like when gunpowder and cannons started forming. So like it's like in a shape of a six-pointed star, kind of looks like a shuriken. And then there's like the walls are made of stone, and then it goes up, and then on the inside it's kind of like hollow, and the walls are like 7 feet tall or something like that. And then there's like a central like little keep on the inside of it. If you want, I could find a picture for you.
No, that's okay. I'm just I need to start making you roll for your power for more complicated constructions.
Ooh.
So,
Yeah.
if you're trying to build this little fortress situation, that's a pretty hefty construct. So I'm going to have you make probably an intelligence check with your power die to construct this.
This is why I didn't want to fight right now. That's not the best. And by not the best, nothing. Nada. Zip.
Ooh.
Right. My flame comes out like a fart and dies.
So 0 successes?
0.
Literally 0. Yeah. Okay.
Just
Yeah, if you had managed even 1, it would not have been a no success situation. So something still would have happened. You still would have had like a ring of fire or something. But because it's no successes, you find that this moment is somehow vexing you in a strange way. And I actually want to work with you a little bit on why that might be. What in this moment would cause Jeremy to sort of like seize up in terms of his powers and his mind being able to focus in that Green Lantern sort of construct way?
I think that like he definitely, when like he first got here, he was like the most excited to meet with Tonitrus or something, but just like over the course of just being at the Moonlight Academy, I don't know, he was hoping that like Tonitrus would be secretly like investigating what's been going on, and that disappointment it's just kind of crushing to him. Just the flames just smolder and die. That disappointment just becomes manifest.
That's tasty. Okay.
Nom, 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 nom.
So that happens. Silhouette, as you go invisible, I'm going to ask you to make a stealth
Wait.
check.
I was gonna say something.
Okay.
I want to adjust slightly something about herself.
Okay.
Can I make it so that like it's almost like a glimmer, like so it's like you know when like you're looking at like a screen for like a certain angle, but then like you kind of move and then like that, like there's like a little cast that goes over a screen.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. So like when you look at her, it's almost like illusioning. I think that's cool.
Okay. So are you trying to not be seen right now, or are you trying to just be harder to see?
Kind of like a like just like upping my defense. You know when like snakes are like it's her
Okay.
little prep. It's her
Are you
little...
like almost like miraging?
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Wait, is there already a character that does that?
I don't think so.
No, that's
Okay.
cool. Okay. So then, because you're doing that, that's a little bit different than just like, I'm invisible, I don't want to be seen, right? So you're upping your defenses. What I'm going to have you do then is I'm going to just have you roll your D12 by itself with no associated stat. And just tell me if it's a success or a failure.
I got a 6.
You got a 6. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's 1d6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Tonitrus 1 level of disadvantage when he tries to hit you for this effect. Yeah. So you're going to have 1 or 2 levels of disadvantage for like imposed on him for this. And it's like a passive effect. It just makes you harder to hit.
Okay, how does that apply?
It applies to me rolling against you. So
Okay.
you don't have to do anything for this. This is a new cool effect of your invisibility that we haven't explored that I really am interested in.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that none of you move to attack him as he's just standing here, waiting.
Bro, no.
I think seeing that none of her teammates go for it, BB might start moving towards him.
Okay. In starting to move
Spike's here.
towards him, do
Yeah.
you attack or do you just sort of move in?
What? Where is she at?
Fuck him
Where's
up.
the
I think
mental
she-
Fuck
state?
him up.
You started
Yeah.
sort of in front of him next to Haramon, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, that is correct. I am thinking because BB is kind of unsure about how she feels about the fight with Blackjack. Like, she went pretty hard. And I'm unsure if she would kind of just be like, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. I think she would kind of maybe... Right now, she would be kind of in for a penny, in for a pound. She would just kind of run up on him and be ready to fight, knowing full well that this is a master martial artist that she's going to get her ass probably beaten by. But I'm going to force a lesson. If he's forcing us to fight him, then I'll engage at that lesson.
Okay. So as you get into his radius, you see that he immediately spins and he snaps with perfect efficiency a roundhouse kick directly toward your midsection as you come forward. So I'm going to have you roll your dodge.
Okay. Say 3 out of 3.
So over here, we've got 10.
That just seems broken.
Wait, 10?
10?
10.
Ian's cheating.
This is a no-win scenario for players.
Hashtag Ian's cheating.
Get in the comments. Yeah, okay, 10.
So, except that's not going to matter. That's not going to matter. Because what happens is, as you move in, he turns, he makes this kick, and it throws you well off course. It snaps the sort of broad top side of his foot, snapping into your midsection. And as soon as it does, you feel this precision, blunt force that knocks your stability off. It like fucks up your stance, something fierce. But as soon as it connects, it snaps away and he's back in place. And you feel the wind has been knocked out of you, but you're not injured. And in your training, you already know something hits in your mind. This is martial arts. This is a strike at its highest level of control. You know what it takes to operate on such a precise level and not do damage. And after he makes this first kick and you're knocked off balance, only then do you realize that he is speaking to you within this moment of action.
Could you repeat that?
Oh, no.
And as he comes in for the second, you see that he's actually spun around behind you, and you hear his voice ringing out behind you. And he goes, "How you move will tell everyone you meet who you are, including yourself." And the second strike comes in. Go ahead and roll another dodge.
Why? I know I'm gonna not make it.
There's a chance. There's a chance
There's
that
a
he
chance.
could fail every
I would have to
single
crit.
dice.
I would. I got 2 out of 3 this time.
Oh no!
I would have to explode every dice, which I mean we don't really do explosions in this, but
All right, so that's 7. So as he is now out behind you, you feel a fist collide into the small of your back. And then as it's there, he turns it over and then opens a palm. And he actually flips you around,
Then he kisses you.
and that arm comes up and brings your defense arm up this way in front of you. And he goes, "Evasion is not always the tool that you need it to be."
does it
You're
look like I'm
hearing
running
these
away?
words. And as you say that, he takes his sort of free action to bring your arm up in this way while he has you. He transitions his grip up to your arm, and then he goes like this against your guard. And he goes, use what you have, and goes like this. And in that moment, that just sort of knocking force, it turns the page to a moment earlier this week. We're brought days earlier in the middle of the night, close to 10 p.m., BB, you find yourself laying in your bed considering the events of this week that are yet to come, the fight with Helix that now has not yet happened. And you hear a knocking very aggressively and quickly at your window.
BB gets up and is kind of sussed out because I don't think this has ever actually happened to her before, where like someone comes to visit her at her window. So she kind of slinks along her room and is kind of trying to take cover behind furniture, then goes to the corner of the window, kind of peeks around the curtain to see who's outside.
Now you're on the second floor, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you see, suspended in a way that you're not entirely sure how, because she's leaned over looking through your window, is Troubleshooter. And she smiles.
Red alert! Red alert!
She breathes into the sort of cold night air and it fogs up your window. And then she draws the outline of a cowboy hat in the fog.
Oh no. BB BB takes out her phone and texts Troubleshooter. There's a front door too. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, laughing emoji.
Laughing emoji.
And then waits for her to look at it and then opens up the window.
Okay. So as you open the window, you can now actually see that she has these sort of strap magnetic mechanisms on her forearms, and she has like stuck herself to the wall and climbed up with this strange mechanism. And she's leaned over looking at your window, and she goes, "Now, I did tell you that I had plans that were forming. Well, that plan is now. Are you in or are you out?"
I normally would need to know what the plan is, but I'm in.
Good, all right, we'll get your ass out here.
I'm gonna go the normal way through the front door. But that's pretty cool, and I want to know where you got those. So BB grabs, I think she's probably in sweats or something, puts on like real person clothes, the BB belt, and goes out the front door to meet Troubleshooter.
Okay. You go out to the front door, and you see that she has already like scrambled back down by the time that you make it out front. And you see that she is leaning up against a motorcycle. But it's weird. It's like it's styled after like a classic sort of vintage diesel motorcycle. It looks rough in that way on top, and it's kind of scuffed up and scratched. There are parts that look like they've been brought in from like different. It's not like that sleek sci-fi look on top. It looks like plating from something old and used has been superimposed very expertly, but with no care in the world for color or style or symmetry. It's all just there for function. But on the bottom, you see that the underlayer is something sleek that has been modified over top. And you see that it's not traditional wheels. It is something that does, hover magnetically, as is more typical for vehicles, like ground vehicles in the city. But right now it's on the ground on its struts.
This yours?
Yeah.
Did you bring it from home?
Parts of it. Are you comfortable riding? Well, Not shotgun exactly. That comes later.
I haven't ridden on a ton of cycles before, but I'll give it my best shot.
Well, there's a first time for everything. And she tosses hard a helmet like right into your gut.
Oh,
You catch it?
yeah, thanks.
Okay.
I put it on.
Okay. So you put the helmet on, she puts her helmet on, she gets on it and she revs it up and you see it doesn't actually make a lot of sound. This
Nice.
is a very silent vehicle. And as it comes to life, that sort of bright but low hum that happens and that glow underneath the silver undercarriage of this vehicle. She goes, "Giddy up, cowgirl. We got places to be and questions need answering."
Let's go. There's no
And
time
she
like the present.
revs, she pushes something forward, like twisting on the actual handle grips, and just fucking books it. This thing starts going boom, just so fast.
Have I ever gone this fast in like an open air vehicle before?
Oh, that's kind of up to you in your PDP training. I mean, there are ground vehicles you would have needed to practice on, but this is something that's been modified in a very unique way. So
She probably has, but not one with so few restraints.
mhm.
So she is holding
Yeah.
on to troubleshooter for dear life.
Okay. So as you're holding on to troubleshooter, she rockets you through the city, and there is no way any conversation is going to reasonably occur while you're going this speed on this vehicle.
BB still tries. Did you have a good day? Where did you get the arm thing? But doesn't get hurt, I don't think.
Usually people who are breaking rules don't flap their mouths this much till they're safe.
I didn't realize we were breaking any rules. Ooh.
And she rockets you through the side streets of this city until you actually break through the line of buildings. She brings you outside of downtown, closer to the outskirts, nearish to some residential areas, but she actually brings you to what you see to be a kind of a wire fence around a large lake. And you've lived in the city your whole life, so you might be familiar with this place. But there is a sign out front as well that does say no trespassing, but it does read that this is Lake Redfoot.
Does that mean anything to BB?
I'm going to have you go ahead and roll an intelligence check or history if you have history to see how much it means to you. Because base level, you'll know what this place is. But I want to see.
It means exactly 1 out of 2.
Okay. Yeah. Middling average.
Yeah.
So you know that this place is named for the birds that have like migrated here over time and are like preserved here. And you know that this is like, you know, people come here to hang out. There's a park surrounding it that is public. But that's kind of as much as you know. It's just sort of a public park.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But you see that the lake itself has this fence around it at the moment. And once you've parked, you also notice that she has brought you near what appears to be a tower that the fence is actually built out from and goes around this lake. And the tower itself is almost like a small lighthouse in a way. It's maybe 20, 25 feet up. You see that there's there's railing and a walkway up above, like on this little tower. It just overlooks the lake. And you look in and you do actually, you don't really hear a lot of noise from them because they're not super nocturnal animals, but you do see just sort of floating in the lake that there are these birds that are very plump, well-feathered birds with flat beaks that from an earth perspective, you would want to call them ducks, but the coloring is a little bit different. Their feathers come to sort of a mohawk pattern across their heads. And every so often you'll see one sort of get up and walk a little bit along the shores of the lake, and you'll see that they actually have these bright red feet, hence their name Redfoot. And this is something that, you know, people of the first city had sort of co-opted into the family duck, but this is a creature that is native to Paragon, that is duck adjacent, that is called a Redfoot.
Well, this is a pretty kind of place.
Mhm.
Why do we have to come all the way out here?
She gently puts her hands on either side of your
Stop.
head, nearest the back of your neck, and she turns your head to look up at the sky. And then she points. And you see that while down below on the surface of the lake, these Redfoots, they're Redfoots. They're
Redfits.
Most of them are asleep, and you see whole families of them, usually 2 parents and a little gaggle of little Redfoot ducklings, are floating freely because they're asleep, just like on the surface of the pond, and there's tons of them, or lake rather.
Because they were dead.
But what she directs your attention up to are these very silent disc-shaped drones. There look to be about 8 of them, and they are just patrolling around the lake. Sometimes they come around the fence, and you see a little swiveling sort of camera eye in the center that almost makes them look like a UFO shape, but it's like a little camera eye. And every so often they'll shine like a little light down, and they'll just be looking. They just look like they're sort of patrolling up high, but you don't see any people here. You just see those.
Doesn't feel like ducks would need to be protected that heavily.
Nah, you wouldn't think so. But see these here, these Redfoots, they actually migrate over here from the main continent, and they did so pretty early on when the first city, you know, appeared on this planet, right? And well, people still aren't entirely sure what they were attracted to about this lake in particular, but families of them settled here, and it is very regular to get this sort of migration. And you're noticing this is the first time that you've heard her really like going into an intellectual explanation of something. You know that she's on like team smart, but you've never really heard her give you anything but that gruff sort of blunt force energy. So as she goes into this explanation, there's something very natural that sort of comes out as she's explaining this to you. And she goes, now, funny thing is, the people here, they wanted to preserve, right? They wanted to make sure that they were safe. So they've brought in native fish that were actually somewhat invasive where they come from. They bring in periodically that to make sure they have a sustainable feed here in this lake. And they populate this lake with those fish. Now, those fish are very valuable to certain people. And they would get a lot of problems in the middle of the night with people coming and fishing. And then the Redfoots, well, they wouldn't have their dinner and they have a tendency to die off. So, hence the drones. They patrol, make sure people don't come in here and trespass, and basically do exactly what you and I are here to do. So, after me.
All right.
And she turns and goes, what? What are you going to say? What?
How do you know all this? I mean, I doubt that they got red feet out where you're from.
Yeah, not particularly. Usually more vultures, birds of prey, scavengers type of things. With birds and with people, to be honest. But you go to a place, you ought to know something about a place, right?
That's something I'm learning very well. So, yeah, I follow your lead.
Now, and she grabs her bow, which actually has a slot on the side of the motorcycle that it clicks into place. And she pulls that out.
Hot.
She straps it over her back. You see that she's already wearing her quiver. She's kind of decked out a little bit. Like, she's not like in armor, but she is wearing like mostly black. And I think she's even got like a jacket on that has it's like maybe like a dark denim jacket that probably has some weapons in it. And she goes, now, avoid the prying eyes, and up we go. And she hands you some of those things that she was wearing, these magnetic sort of sticker ascension things. And you watch her click them into place. She goes, I do, you do.
I do.
You click them on and you feel that magnetic hum. Mm-hmm.
I do.
And she begins to ascend. She begins to ascend. She scales the tower. And you see that she's moving and she's twisting around away from the prying eyes of the drones, who stay mostly near the lake and the fence. And in following her, you're able to not be seen by the drones. She brings you up onto that railing, onto the walkway. Then you see her take out this device that she places on the lock of the door, twists into place, types something in, and the lock just opens. And she opens it up, and you step inside into a modest control room with just a single desktop computer in it, and like a little lounge area. It is sort of a lighthouse-ish. It's more like a mock lighthouse to just give the appearance of it for aesthetics. That is currently turned off. The light is not on. But she goes and she immediately begins typing on the computer. And you see whatever she's doing, you know it's untoward.
Okay.
It looks like she's decrypting something.
It's a pretty neat trick getting us in here and whatever it is you're doing now. But what does this have to do with anything we've talked about over the past few weeks?
Well, it seems to me that you're interested in asking me questions, and instead of having it be incessant and annoying, I thought we could make some fun out of it. You did want to have fun with me, did you not? Or am I reading the wrong vibes?
No, right on the money. Yeah, BB blushes and kind of kicks the ground.
Unclench, cowgirl. I promised you a good time, and I'll make sure you don't get in trouble. That's what we're doing here. And you see as she's typing, she finishes something up and goes, there we go. Now, and she points back outside and she goes, now take a look. You see anything different? She directs your attention out to the drones.
Mm-hmm. I turn around and look at them.
You see that their pattern changes a little bit. And now they're just moving sort of in random still patterns, but staying only over top of the lake. And some of their like little flashing red lights that blink, you kind of eagle eye and you see that they're not really blinking anymore. There's like a solid color.
That's also a pretty nifty trick. You do that with any drones? Or just government-owned ones?
Well, I haven't encountered every drone ever made just yet, but all I know is I can do these ones.
Well, I'm sure you'll get there someday.
Yeah, well, probably. Most of them operate on the same basic software, so these ones not really the highest budget in the world, and frankly, it's not too much of a huge concern for them, so it's the cheap stuff. Well, I know what to do with the cheap stuff. Speaking of which, and she reaches into her bag and she pulls out this huge bottle of what is probably like straight whiskey.
Oh no. BB nods and smiles as if she's excited, and a deep dread is filling her. BB does not like drinking. Mm-hmm. From a taste perspective, not from any moral or personal preference against. That looks like it will be fun to drink, and we'll have a good time.
It's the catalyst for fun. It's not the fun itself.
Well, let's get the party started.
She
reaches for the bottle. BB reaches for the bottle. I think as Troubleshooter opens it, and it's super awkward.
Yep. She opens up the window. And she scoots out of the window and then sits down in front of the railing overlooking the lake. And you see that the drones are kind of at eye level with you guys now as they circle the lake, but they're still a good, several feet away from you. And she takes out her bow and she lays it on her lap. She clicks something on her wrist, and you see that the arrow, like the the fletching of the arrows, which are not visible because usually the thing is closed, a compartment opens and one arrow goes poof, like it ejects itself so that she can grab it.
Cool.
And she goes, now, under normal circumstances, those little tattletales hovering around over the lake, you take one out, the rest of the herd's alerted, they go to the last known position of the attack, and they send out a signal to Control Central, which would lead to a whole debacle that we don't want to deal with. Now, if we want a proper shooting gallery, we got to turn that off, and that's what I've done. So we're free for target practice. Now, here's how the game is going to work. Let me know if I'm going too fast for you. Each one of us will take a shot at the same time, an actual shot at a drone. Whichever one of us hits one first when we shoot gets to ask a question of the other. The other must answer honestly if you choose not to answer, or if I smell bullshit, well, then you got to take a different kind of shot. She holds up the bottle. Sound fair?
Yeah, you're on.
All right, then. She takes out the bow, knocks an arrow, and looks to you.
BB readies, like puts her hand up in the finger gun position, is fully not going to shoot at these drones. BB is not going to destroy public property. That's not her bag at all. What she's going to do is try to shoot Troubleshooter's arrow out of the sky.
That's very interesting. So we're still going to use the same mechanic here.
Fuck it up.
We're going to have both of you guys shoot. And whichever one of you rolls higher is the one who succeeds on the shot.
Okay. Shall we do it?
Yep.
Does this count as a power die? Because I have a...
Yeah, because you're using your power
thing
to
in
shoot.
Sharpshooter? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hold up. Let me roll this thing.
Man, BB more like BS for Boy Scout.
True. That is gonna be ooh, that's nasty. It's gonna be a 5 out of 3. Actually, 5 out of 4. Power die is a success, and then yeah, power die is a success, and then I got 2 5s and a 6.
She only rolled 4. So
Hey.
as her arrow sails out in a single moment of resolve, you take a shot, and about maybe like 6 inches from the arrow that is about to bury itself squarely into the center eye of one of these drones, the arrow splits in half with that sizzling force, and the shot just disappears into darkness as the arrow falls down into the lake.
Whoa, that's that's crazy that happened. I guess I get to ask a question then.
Yeah, you get to ask a good question.
What made you want to come to the first city and Moonlight Academy all the way from Nova West?
Right into it then. I admire that. Well, it's actually not terribly complicated. Nova, Alma, it's all the same. They ain't never done shit for us. But that being said, a lot of the people back where I come from have gotten very comfortable in their role of controlling the methods in which we protect the people around us, people no one else is looking out for. And it's gotten to their heads a bit. And so they're not really looking for outside solutions. Things have gotten worse and worse in ways that none of y'all are even talking about, because none of y'all even know about or think to look. And me being me, decided to do a little research, a little field trip, so to speak. See, I respect Quickstep. Despite what many may think, she doesn't necessarily shackle herself to the same rules that all the rest of them do. she has some understanding of what it's like out there in the real world. And I knew that if I came here and I learned from her and brought back some of her technology that she can't officially lend us, if I grew strong enough, fast enough, honed myself into something that might be taken a little more seriously where I come from, and maybe finally something will really get done. Did that answer your question?
It's a lot of pressure to put on one person.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of pressure to put on one town. That's what we do. She takes a long drag of the whiskey.
I think BB will too, and we'll try to not. Can I roll like a con check
Sure,
to see if she
yeah, because
coughs
it
it up?
sucks.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Okay.
That shit burns.
It's a 0 out of 3.
Oh my god.
You immediately, you don't swallow it. It hits your
Oh
tongue
no.
and you spit it out loudly
Ah.
down below, and you
Oh,
see
no.
a flock of redfoots scatter.
I
Hmm.
That's just not like the stuff that I normally drink. So
What, 2% milk?
oh, BB laughs at that. I actually prefer apple juice on a good day. 2% milk is for when I'm feeling wild.
Yeah, well, it's
Next
not your
shot?
fault. You grew up here. The second you broaden your horizons to more interesting places, you'll find all manner of exciting things to put in your mouth.
Me, Eric has to go. I have to remove myself from this situation.
It's time to stop.
Oh,
It's time to
Gotta
stop.
go.
I'm like
All
for
right.
real blushing.
We're going to do another shot.
Let's do it. BB laughs at that, doesn't know how to respond to it, and kind of just squares up for the next shot.
BB's useless lesbianism.
Listen, she's trying her best. Oh my god. Yes. Oh my. I really hope that this works. I again got a 5 out of 4, but I did fail on the power die.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
2 6s and a 5.
So she gets a 4 once again as well, but on her power die, she rolled a 12. So even though she
Ooh.
doesn't succeed, something really cool happens. And I'm going to... Okay.
The arrow splits
My-
and
yeah.
hits 2 drones.
Are you trying to
Perfect.
stop her arrow again?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So if your explicit goal is to stop the arrow, then with her critical success on the power die specifically, but still not rolling higher than you, both of your goals are going to be met, is what's going to happen here. So
Okay.
what I'm going to say is she sends the arrow out and you take your shot and you crack the arrow in half. But as you do so, in the split moment, you realize that her arrow was not headed straight for the target. And the momentum and the angle of your shot, as you break the arrow, the trajectory of the arrow changes onto course and strikes the drone. Not enough to destroy the drone, but the arrow does stick into it. And she laughs and she goes, so what is that? Is that a question for both of us? I think that's fair.
I agree. You go first.
All right, well. She turns and she looks at you dead in the eye with the most just devilish but intense and kind of scary look that you've seen from her.
My
And
heart
she
is
smiles
racing.
this horrible Grinch smile. And she goes,
Oh no.
what do you really want from me?
I don't think that that's something that BB has really taken time to process with everything else going on. But I think the answer comes to her really readily with, she just immediately goes, respect, I guess. Our first meeting was more of a confrontation where I guess you showed me that as much as I might try to hide what I'm afraid of, or what I used to be afraid of, or where I've come from, or no matter how much I put up in front of me, there will always be at least one person who can tear it all down in the course of one conversation. So, I guess since that conversation ended with me kind of getting a mud in my face or whatever, and you telling me exactly who I was or where I came from, I guess I just wanted to show you that I'm more than
that. Fuck. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh at your heartfelt confession. I can't help but notice you city folk heroes are so dramatic.
What a jerk.
Why
If
do you
you
think we wear
want-
the costumes?
Well, yeah. Costumes are a tool to get what you want, and that's what you do in this life to survive. You manage your expectations and you balance pleasure with need, right? Now, you only think you need my respect because you've ascribed value to that. And I ask you if you want something from me, you don't look inward at your wants. You look to something deeper, something all-consuming. You want a purpose for why you got to do what you got to do. And there's a time and a place for that, right? But you can light a fire with all kinds of different wicks. You'll find that you can make tinder out of all sorts of things, both tangible and not so much. So when I ask you if you want something from me, the world does not have to shake beneath your feet. If I have to make it simpler, I'm not going to ask you why you want my respect or what that means to you. And if I draw a clear line between who you think you are and what you want in this moment for you, then I'm going to ask me if you want to kiss me. And then I'm going to ask you why you ain't tried yet.
Phoebe's quiet for a second. And then she says, I don't know why it matters to you what wick I use to light my fire. And then kisses her.
So as you kiss her,
she pushes me off the tower. Oh, God.
One hand comes around to the back of your neck and holds you there, while the other hand, without looking, you just hear a very fast motion of hand going into inside jacket pocket and a swift removal of something. And before the kiss is broken, you just hear 3 quick silenced shots. And then followed by 3 thunk, 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 and the flapping of wings and squawking. Do you pull away from the kiss?
Yeah. I think as soon as BB understands what's happening with her reaching into the jacket pocket, I think that's when she starts to pull away. Can I look at what happened?
There are 3 less drones, and they're just floating, sparking in the water. And she is holding still the arm out with what looks like an energy pistol.
She pulled it out of her jacket pocket?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that wasn't a part of the rules that we agreed on. We said we'd go at the same time.
The only rule that fire follows is burn. And then she stands up and she goes inside the control room and she begins to walk down the stairs. But halfway down, before she disappears out of sight, she half turns back to you, puts the gun away.
Is she carrying the gun down the stairs with her? Like, as she is walking away from me, is she carrying the gun at her side? Because
I think she holds it up here for a moment, kind of in like a hip shooter position.
Yeah.
And then as soon as she gets to the stairs, she tucks it back into the jacket.
Is it in any place where BB can shoot it out of her hand?
For a moment, yeah.
Can I try?
Yeah.
Okay.
This foreplay is insane.
I think this is the afterplay. This is the
Power
pillow
not
talk.
her power is her sight. That includes passive.
4
Very good.
4 out of 4.
Okay, I roll 2.
Success in the power die. Okay.
The gun clatters down onto how many successes did you get?
4 out of 4. I
4,
failed
so
on
4
one
success.
of the dex dice or whatever I use. Strength dice.
Okay. So on a full success, the gun is knocked out of her hand and it actually scatters sort of far from her.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I guess I get to ask one more question then. And you can always ask me the 3 that made up for, I suppose. And then BB kind of asks, as we're standing across from each other in this control room, like I imagine troubleshooters by the stairs and there's kind of shadows coming into the room from the moonlight. What do you know about all the people, empowered people who've gone missing on No Man's Highway, right across the border from Nova West? Because our team has been hearing a little bit about it from sources, and we think it might be tied in with everything else that's been going on surrounding us. I think that's one of the things I wanted to ask you the most.
She looks over at the gun and nod at you. She goes, I can see for miles, bang, bang. But everything outside of that desert, on the other side of the highway, that's your problem. She turns the device at her wrist, and you see, almost like nanotechnology, a fingerless glove made of a thin veneer of some sort of glinting steel texture just sort of builds itself in her palm, and it shimmers. She outstretches her hand, and the metal pistol that has clattered to the ground magnetically flies back into her hand. Keep the bottle, you need it more than I do. She puts the gun away, moves down the stairs, and you hear her motorcycle rev up and leave.
Damn.
I think I want a hard cut on that moment.
Okay.
Because as we return back into the present moment, Tonitrus comes in for his third strike, his sort of offhand. And as you now have this blocking position up, you hear him say once again, use your tools. And as he brings up a knee, I'm going to say that you instinctively step back, and instead of blocking or avoiding in the normal way that you might, you reach into your training, your martial arts training, and you put a hand out and you block the knee with a down block. And he smiles before spinning away in a moment that freezes slower to you.
Can I kind of edit that a little bit?
Sure.
Just
please.
because he said the phrase, use your tools. I think she goes to block it with her hand, but then it turns into the pistol and she uses the concussive force, not the penetrative force, to force his knee back down.
Okay, that's cool. I'm not going to make you roll for it because what happens in this moment is you as a character with a martial arts die on your character sheet have now unlocked a new facet of your abilities.
Ooh, okay.
You no longer exclusively have to roll a dodge check to avoid melee attacks. You can use your martial arts die to try and block.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. That's tight.
So even though you do shoot, I think it still is reaching into your martial arts training. Like you still do it like a block, but you use your power, which I think is even cooler.
Hell yeah. I'm very down with that. I love that.
And he does smile approvingly, almost in a fatherly way that reminds you a little bit too much of something that you maybe don't want to think about right now before he spins away.
You're not my dad. What?
Who does he turn to next? I'm going to leave it up to you guys.
I mean, it sounds like if he just wanted to go down the line, then Haramon would be next, but it would also be funny if you just like went to Jeremy, who's like 50 feet away.
Okay.
Up to you.
What? Wait, what?
Up to you.
I'm also fine with going.
Oh yeah, please.
Okay.
Okay, I think Silhouette would just kind of like doing the shimmery thing and then a little thing and then jazz hands and then I think she would take out her little whip she has, right? That's what
You have your whip.
yeah, great. And then I would try to wait, how many actions can I do again? Just one?
One, yeah. And then like kind of we might call it a bonus action or a free action.
Okay.
Something small.
I would try to like whip it around. You know, like those like magnetic bracelets or the stop bracelets where like you do that and then it like kind of goes around.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to lock it around his feet and then pull him so he falls.
Okay. Yeah. So because this is a gadget, you can probably do this with intelligence. You can make an attack with intelligence.
Woot.
Do you have a D12 in gadgetry, or is it skill points?
The specialty.
It's a specialty, so you can add a D12 to this.
Okay.
An ability that BB just got, he's got too.
Okay. So on my D12, I rolled a 1.
Oh no.
But I got a wait. It's only a 6 that counts as 2, right?
Yes.
I got 3 5s and a 2.
Damn.
I got 3 out of 4.
So 3 successes.
Yeah. Bummer Town. I can't remember the last time I rolled a 1. I hope he does terrible.
I mean, it's possible.
I only hope the worst.
It's not impossible for him to fail.
Smiling.
So he rolls 8.
Yeah. Okay.
So as the whip coils out to wrap around his legs, you're accustomed to seeing Helix sort of flipping a lot. What you watch him do is simply step out of the way. he just plants his foot. For a moment, you're like, why isn't he moving? Why has he stopped coming towards me for a fraction of a second?
That's so
You go to do this
embarrassing.
whip, and he just lunges diagonally forward. And then he rolls.
And then he punches me in the face.
And then comes up with a palm into your sternum, sort of at the top of your stomach. So almost your sternum, I guess. Like here.
Diaphragm.
This is diaphragm.
Mhm.
Anatomy. And you just get a palm straight there. So go ahead and roll a dodge.
Good luck at breathing after that.
Come on, baby. Are you fucking kidding me? I got a 2 out of 4.
Oh,
Wow, this is really bad.
Joe, no.
This is so
10.
sad.
So that's a 10. Okay.
Of course it is.
So the palm, it knocks the wind out of you and pushes you back about 5 feet, just sort of sliding
I hate that. I hate that.
on your feet. And it feels like you're kind of gonna lose your footing for a second there. Oh, to be fair, I should still roll with 2 levels of disadvantage though.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that brings it to an 8. But that's still, yeah. And so as you're pushed back, he says to you, and he starts saying this during the roll, so he has like time to say it fully. He says, innovation and outside the box thinking are your strengths. And then he executes the palm strike and pushes you back. And there's a moment where he just waits, and he uses the rest of his action not to take his second attack, but to simply look you in the eye and says, but Silhouette, you have more than strong footing. Do you know who you are? Or who you want to be? And in that moment of locked
That
eye
is
contact,
so embarrassing.
in that moment of locked eye contact, you're kind of lost in the purple glow of his eyes. And it brings us back to the bright midday glow as you open the door into the Blake's office for your costume consultation. At the top of this high glinting tower and deep in the financial district, all the way up past the lobby, up a long elevator with a glass exterior that allows you to see the entire city stretching out below you in all of its majesty. You step into this office and are immediately greeted by this lush chamber filled with color. There are paintings all throughout the room. Many of them are abstract. Not a lot of like portraits of people. A lot of them are just like splatters of color that interplay like Rorschach and call to mind all of these different images that mean different things to you individually. But it's all framed on white walls. So it's a canvas of white, this entire room, with swirls and interplay of color all throughout. There is a rather large semicircular desk that horseshoes out with like the circular part of the horseshoe toward you guys in front of a wide window. And behind that desk, standing up, are 2 figures.
I love them already.
Mr. and Mrs. Blake. First, you see Emerald Blake, who is a woman in her middle age with sort of chestnut brown hair, very much like her daughter, who you know very well. You see a very sturdy framed woman with broad shoulders, very tall, approaching 6 feet. You see that she is wearing this very wide white hat that has a spiral of black that goes all the way to the top, but it's like a wide brimmed like floppy hat that drapes back almost like kind of down to her back. And you see that she is wearing this white dress that has cutouts here and then here. It kind of like forms an hourglass negative space. But in that negative space, there is like orange mesh texture underneath that is very intricately woven, like all throughout. With like white and black spiraling patterns on long nails. And she smiles at you with this like bronzed up, glistening face that she has. And standing next to her is Hugo Blake, who is a tall, skinny, like handsome Ichabod Crane kind of a figure. He almost seems a little bit diminutive next to her. Like she is a much like bigger framed person than he is. He's kind of a scarecrow, but he is an incredibly fashionable scarecrow. He has a dyed white, but like a shining silver white pompadour. Very angular, very pointy features and a wide smile. Long skinny nose. If I had to compare him to a real person, I would say he kind of looks like Alan Cumming. If you're familiar with Alan Cumming, also known as Floop. And he is wearing a black suit that is very classically cut, but it's over top of what looks like a kind of a low cut white fashion tank top that comes down almost to his knees, with very tight fitting slacks and shining black shoes. And the two of them immediately stand, smile widely, and Emerald speaks first. She goes, "Please come in. It is such a pleasure to make your acquaintance. And I'm very glad that you made it out today."
Whose parents are these?
Monarchs.
LOL. Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. Okay. Can I say what Silhouette's wearing?
Yeah.
Okay, Silhouette's
Fit
wearing
check.
Fit check. Okay, she's wearing huge pants, but like dress pants. And like a huge blazer. Like it looks like it's like wide-legged business pants and then a big like oversized blazer, and she's wearing like a she's wearing a big tie too. LOL, she looks like a clown. But it's the vibe.
But it's fashion.
But it's and she's wearing a belt and it's like luminescent. It's like a big belt and it's
That's so cool.
luminescent.
Oh,
So cool.
Yeah. That's what she's wearing. Anyways, okay. Silhouette is very excited, and she almost kind of like bows her head like as she like goes out to like shake their hand. And she's like, "Thank you so much. I've been waiting for this day for a really long time. I'm really prepared." And she has like a little planner. She's like, "I'm so excited to go over all this today."
And Hugo smiles very big, and he goes, "Well, we look forward to this very much as well. And allow me to close the door. We don't want to scare you. This isn't some horrifying corporate espionage." And he walks over very gracefully, and he closes the door. And he hits a button on what looks like his phone, and you see that the curtains that are framing the window actually open up wider so that the window gets like bigger, like an entire wall of window. And you see that there are an array of options for seating. There are these big plush like bean bags, as well as like actual chairs that are sort of avant-gardely placed around the room for you to like pick where you want to sit. And he goes, we wait all season, every season, to get new students from Moonlight and do consultations. It is what brings us maximum joy. And Emerald goes, and not to mention that any friends of our precious Beau are most welcome in here. Do you want a cappuccino? Do you want something? We could get anything brought in. I'll get Edgar to bring you something. And she hits the intercom. She goes, Edgar, get ready, or I might have you bring something, right?
I don't even know. Eric, what's that soda? Isn't there like a soda that we used to like? Wasn't there like a drink we got from like a vending machine? Isn't that a thing?
You got a chrome egg McMuffin from a vending machine once.
Ah, that's true. Okay, that's what I confused it with. Water's fine. Water's fine.
Well, all right. One water. Right, anything else?
That's fine.
She looks at all of you guys and she goes like, what, you're like deer in the headlights? Come on, it's all right. Look, we're not scary, right? We're just...
Oh, yeah, we're here too. Huh?
Yeah, you're all here.
Oh no, we're here.
Yeah, you're all here.
I like to imagine we all wake up from our trance and are like, oh shit.
Pantheon is not in the room. She's waiting like out in the lobby. But you guys are all in here.
I don't think
anyone realized that.
Not here to consult with you. My contribution to the conversation is to say that I love your daughter very dearly. And I sit down on one of the bean bags.
Well, that means a lot to us to hear that she's having a good time and that she's making friends. Honestly, she speaks very highly of all of you. And, you know, she's even told us that you're on a first name basis with her, which is very exciting for us. So, you know, please try. I mean, if there is anything that we can do to make you feel at ease, right? I stop standing up so straight, you go. He goes, right, I know, I'm sorry. I know I have a tendency to stand up. I look very, very intimidating, right? Just here, would you like a beanbag? They're very comfortable. And he goes up, oh, he does actually sort of trip over himself a little bit on his way to like grab a beanbag. And he like pulls it with his skinny man strength over to like in front of the desk. And instead of like getting his seat at the desk, he grabs a tablet, sort of flips open the covering of it, removes the pen, and he sits and reclines a bit on this like bright red beanbag and looks at you guys. And Emerald immediately comes over and sits next to him, and they sort of are almost snuggled next to each other with their adjoining tablets as they sit next to you, and they smile really big. And he goes, well, if you'd prefer to go straight to the consultation, we are very aware of you, Haramon, and we know that you have people who are going to design for you, and that is wonderful. Please don't think that we're at all offended. In fact, after this consultation, you may still not even choose to contract through us, and that's completely fine. It's a normal part of the process. We are simply here to get your ideas flowing. Do you see?
Well, I appreciate that, but Silhouette gripping her binder so hard, I think we should maybe just get to the point.
That's very well. Emerald, would you like to begin, my darling? And she goes, of course. And a guy named Edgar comes in and he brings you a bunch of stuff that you asked for, and you drink that stuff, and then he leaves. And then Emerald begins to ask you. She goes, now, what we do in these consultations is we just ask you 3 very simple questions. The first is, which hero or heroes inspire you the most? You look so excited, darling. Please begin. You can go first if you like.
I think Silhouette like laughs like out of like nervousness, and she's like, I really. Okay, now that's just me laughing. Silhouette is like, oh, Moonrider. Of course.
That's a solid choice. I mean, he was the first, after all.
Right.
You know that, of course.
Yeah.
And what about you, my dear? And she looks over at Jeremy.
I wasn't as prepared for this as Silhouette here, but Odysseus?
Her eyes genuinely widen. She makes a quick note of something, and she looks at Hugo, and he's like beaming too, and they look at each other, and they both they have this moment of and then they furiously start scribbling. As Hugo says, "Now, in all of our years of consultation, we have never heard an answer quite like that. And I would expect nothing less of one with such impeccable style already. I mean, look at that. Who designed that? If you don't mind my asking. It's truly wonderful."
Myself? I don't know. The patterns
Yourself? Truly?
Yeah.
Genuinely?
Yeah, the PDP didn't really have anyone to do much design, so luckily I managed to get a needle and some thread.
Yes, well, they have a history of such things, but lots of sleek black and grey, a little drab for us. We like a bit of colour, but they have expanded their horizons recently in a direction that is... And they share a look. You see that Emerald is looking at him kind of intensely for a second. Her eyes flash, and he goes, "More favorable, but there's no reason to discuss that. Nevertheless, wonderful answer, my friend, wonderful." And Emerald finally turns to BB and goes, Please, go ahead.
Well, big fan of Tonitrus's suit. Big fan of Tonitrus as a hero. Ian, would there be any other kind of either lower powered or non-powered superheroes, or kind of gunslinger superheroes that Baby would be aware of?
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's a whole history of heroes that we could go into. Would you like to make one up?
No.
What if there's one that is called the Gunslinger?
Yeah, I think that's because I guess what she'll then end up saying is I kind of have this thing with cowboys, cowgirls, and I would like that kind of aesthetic for my eventual suit. I guess the Gunslinger would be a good kind of reference, but I don't know. Still trying to kind of think about mine. Do you guys have any recommendations for me for what you could see me within? I mean, my powers are, she doesn't do anything, but she holds up her hands like this. And then I can also fight pretty good.
Well, darling, the thing about that is you'll get an entire report, preliminary sketches, everything that we've gathered from this with our recommendations, but we don't want to sort of taint the process of getting your responses now. So believe me when I say that we will have very many ideas to offer you, of course. And might I say, coming in with such a strong sense of what you like and history of heroes, I mean, bringing up the Gunslinger, of course, I mean, he's before our time, so you know your history, which is a testament to the kind of hero you are. I mean, you're being trained by Pantheon after all. And Hugo puts a hand very lovingly on her thigh. She goes, I do love to go on, yes, of course. But my main point is your influences are well noted. And, well, why shouldn't they be, right? I mean, that's a classic. And she looks kind of far off for a moment. And then Hugo looks to Hermione. He goes, well, Pantheon was very clear that you've got your heart set on designers of your own, in your own circle. We're of course not going to pry into who that might be, but if we can simply allow you to feel included in the process, and you're free to use any of our ideas. There's no copywriting in this room. No. Everything that we offer you can be used by anyone that you choose to contract with, including yourself. So if you wish to answer, darling, you are more than welcome to still.
Sure, can't hurt, can only help. I mean, it's a little on the nose, I think, if you know me, but you know the old comic hero Wonder Woman, I guess Lady Wondrous she is now.
He furrows his brow a little bit, trying to recall, but Emerald immediately wide grin, and she's like, oh, well, I'm well aware of that. Yeah. Talk about classic. All of you. Such classical historical sentiments. That makes me all tingly.
And then I guess in that mix, throw my mom, which you have no basis for. So that's pretty much it, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, well. Most moms are superheroes in some respect or another. Not to just pat myself on the back, but you know.
I mean, I have some more like production questions, but this is not what this is for. So I'm just gonna save those for the end.
No, please do not feel insecure about your answer. That's a good. All of you, really. I mean, but that's yeah, what wrong? Yeah. And they kind of whisper to each other, and they continue writing. and then Emerald goes, right, okay, yeah, all right. Question 2. What kind of hero do you imagine yourself to be? I know that this one's a little deeper, right? So I'm not going to look at anyone. You can decide, who wants to answer. Take your time, of course.
I want to be a hero. My power kind of is to some degree a blunt force weapon. I mean, I can do kind of other stuff with the concussive blasts I have, but broadly, I'm about doing damage. But I would like to be a hero who is known for using their power to protect others. I know that that's just kind of what a hero is in general, but because I can't just save them, or my power isn't based around saving them, I wouldn't be the person who, stands in front of the person who needs help and in the way of danger.
They share a look once more. They nod to each other. Your point is well heard. And, well, you certainly made this room a bit brighter. So I'm sure you'll do just as well out there. She gestures at the window.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
And then she just smiles really wide. And once again, you see, even though she has a much stronger jaw, bigger chin, plumper cheeks than Monarch has, that smile is very much the same.
Genetics.
And she looks over the group with that big smile. goofy and elegant, awaiting the next person to respond.
I'll take the shot.
Mhm.
Haramon, almost as if it's practiced, not quite, not like it's forced or anything, not like it's deadpan or anything. Says, I am a protector first and a provider second. And that is who I've chosen to carve myself out to be, and that probably what I'll be till I die.
Hugo actually answers, and he goes, well, considering your mentor, I imagine that day is a long way off.
Well, see, you say that, but you also have not been in our shoes.
No, that is true. We only make shoes for you to walk in. Emerald goes, stop it, Hugo. Like, we want them to like us, right? And the puns, that's not going to... He goes, well, a good pun is its own reward. In our experience, one who seeks to be a protector in one way or another ends up being one. As in heroism, as it is in fashion. The road always begins with a choice. But we are getting ahead of ourselves now, aren't we, darling? Yes. So, and he turns to look at Jeremy.
I'm in a kind of unique situation where my future is I don't really have much time to think about that. But if I had to say one, I suppose right now I'm more just kind of like a hero that's on a quest, but the one I want to be is just one that survives with a happy ending. That'd be nice.
Well, considering your teacher, I would count you very lucky to be under the care and the tutelage of someone who is well versed in writing her own ending. I can see that spark. Call it intuition or a fashionista on it, but I think you can do much more than just survive. And finally, she looks to Silhouette.
That's me. Silhouette kind of like thinks about it for a second, and then she's like, I think I appreciate the Good Samaritan, you know, like unknown good, someone who doesn't have to be asked or seen to like help others. I think that's like the hero I'd want to be. But you know, like the fame and like the plaques are really nice too.
Well, love, there's no shame in wanting people to know your name. I mean,
That's not the most important part.
No, of course not. But, well, there might be people out there who tell you that heroes who focus on that or, embrace their role as a public figure are somehow lesser than the ones who fly under the radar. Now, we're not moralists, we're not philosophers, but there is a value to placing a face on a deed, on an action. It brings hope, it brings goodwill, and it brings an expectation. And we're simple creatures a lot of the time. We want our expectations met, don't we? If you make people expect good and then deliver that to them, you can't ever let anyone tell you that you're wrong for loving that. On the flip side, and she looks to Hugo, who says, it is incredibly fitting that one so young already has an understanding of a delicate balance that you must walk going into this life. Warms our hearts, truly. It's impressive. And, well, how appropriate, given your power set. An understanding that a good deed, unseen, that can have more power than one done for any other reason. It's all about perspective, isn't it?
Yeah. You got that right.
Well, I think we've got just about everything we need in that regard. The third question, it's more of an optional thing, truly. Now, we're going to leave you alone in the office. Here. And he steps over and he grabs up 4 tablets that are left out on the desk. And he hands one to each of you. And you see that it's open to like a typing, like a Word document situation. And he goes, our final question is if you have any visions of yourself, costume ideas of your own, with no shame that you are not necessarily yourself a designer. This is a brainstorm. If you see yourself in shiny leather pants, then draw yourself in shiny leather pants. And if you want anything in particular, any images, any requests, do not be ashamed to try and fulfill your wish. Who you are and who you wish to be, while there is a line, well, lines can be hopped over. And they both stand. And as they go to stride out of the room, the notebook that you're clutching, Silhouette, that's filled with ideas, you see that Emerald notices that and sees the tablet. She goes, between you and me, all of this and all of this, she gestures to like her heart, but also to your notebook as she sort of scoots the tablet away from you. And she very gently like pulls the notebook more like into your lap. And she hands you just like a pencil, like a real pencil. And she goes, this makes you a hero after my own heart. And I'll be rooting for you, love. Not just for who you are, but who you want to be. And I'd like to meet the woman who meets and merges those two together. Whether I can see her or not.
That's very cute. Silhouette just again nods her head and says, thank you so much.
They walk out of the room and we push in on Silhouette's notebook. Would you like to give us any indication of what's in the notebook, or do you want to leave it for like a surprise? Because it's totally up to you.
I have mentioned some of the stuff, so like she definitely has like little like fabric swatches, like from different kinds of fabrics that she's been like toying with designers. And she I don't know, I feel like she would probably have like little notes like next to everything, and maybe like a rough draft of like what her costume would look like, or like different alterations that would appear like on like the arms or the legs, and like maybe different styles of belts for her gadgets. But I have to like think more about obviously her costume in general, but that's like what I definitely know she has that in her notebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we push in on that notebook, the next panel is on your face, sort of beaming down at it, clutching this pencil, your eyes sort of glinting in the sunlight streaming in through the window. And we return to the moment on the battlefield, your eyes glinting in the moonlight, locked on Tonitrus as he has stopped moving toward you. And he says to you, just because you are not the same kind of fighter as your teammates, you've already proven that that does not hold you back. But someone more prepared, someone who knows what you're capable of, maybe a different story.
I think Silhouette, like through a grunt, is just kind of like, I know what I'm capable of, and I know what my team's capable of. And just like, and just like, you said she fell back. She's just trying to like struggling to like get up, but is obviously like, you know.
Okay. As you go to get up, he actually does walk closer to you, and he reaches out an arm to help you, like pull you up.
She grabs his hand.
As he pulls you up, he says, "We use what we have, and you have a clear line between your mind and your feet. Now that may not be martial arts, but it's a connection. It's something that all people can hone, and it's part of who you are. So, if you don't want to be hit, well, don't be." And in that moment, something occurs to you. The modifications that you've made to your skates. Over this time, you have continued working on them, as I understand. They can pop in and out of your shoes at will. You can do it at a gesture very quickly. It occurs to you now that if you want to match Tonitrus's speed to the best of your ability, well, you're a little faster on wheels. And as this occurs to you, you do unlock this new ability. So when you roll a dodge check with your skates out, you can add your gadgetry D12 to your dodge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I can add a D12 to my dodge check if I'm using my skates.
Yes.
Very cool.
Because you're faster on wheels, so you can like spin and get out of the way. Yeah. As you have this idea, he begins like coming toward you again.
Like to hit me?
Yeah, he looks like he's squaring up to like
Great.
get in your space again.
I dodge him,
Mhm.
and is there an action? Am I?
Yeah, we're doing a mixture of actual mechanics, and then once we get to the point where like, so we don't have to roll for this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say I would dodge him and try to get behind him.
Mhm.
But now I'm scared of him. I'll just dodge him.
Okay. With the
I'll
skates?
just yeah.
So as he comes in, you see that he goes in for a kick,
Mhm.
and it looks like he's going just like a little bit slower. But as he does this, you're now on your feet. You pop your skates out, and you slide, ducked like a roller derby fighter, athlete. I don't know what those people are called, but
Skater?
they're awesome. Roller derby skater, yeah. You kind of go into this mode, and you like scoot yourself, you propel yourself underneath his kick and come up on the other side of him. And he turns, and he smiles, and he nods at you. And then his head whips over to Jeremy, who is still several feet away.
Oh, he's coming for you.
And he breaks
Dun, dun.
out at a run toward Jeremy.
Yo, bro, you ain't need to do all that. You ain't need to do that.
He
I
can
learned
close
my
his
lesson.
distance
Terrifying.
pretty quick. But you do have time, Jeremy, as he is running towards you, because he does have to close the distance. You've got a few seconds if you do something about that.
I think Jeremy will start backpedaling, and he'll make some big ol' movements, and he'll try to like, try to just like using flames, just create like a fucking World War I no man's land in between him and Tonitrus.
Okay. Go ahead and make an intelligence roll with your D12. This actually does create a problem for him that is not martial arts based.
That's our boy creating problems.
Ooh. Actually, that ain't that bad. Let's see. That is on normal dice, that is a 4 out of 5, and I got a success on the power dice.
Okay. So 4 out of 5, what it described to me a little bit what it looks like, the fire constructs that you create between you and him.
So it just looks like just that muddy, bombed out land. There's like a broken down like World War I land battleship tank to one side, abandoned like machine guns on the other, just barbed wire between them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just kind of standing like on a hill, or not a hill, but yeah, he's just standing behind all that stuff.
That's awesome. So Tonitrus is running, and you create this sort of flaming obstacle course between you and him. And you watch in real time, without slowing his stride, his eyes sort of dart around and analyze each of these obstacles. And with 7 successes on his dodge, you see he just runs straight into it. And where the flames are licking, he just like expertly, without breaking a stride, just hops, navigates between each, rolling, ducking, weaving completely with minimalistic movement. This man can make his body do what it needs to do with as little effort as it takes.
It's a bullshit right there.
As he darts, ding, 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 straight in front of you. And before you know it, he has closed the distance, and a fist is coming straight for the center of your chest.
Fuck.
So go ahead and roll your dodge.
Watch this. 1 dice. About to dodge this, man. I'm cracked. Ooh.
You
Ooh.
have 1 agility.
Yeah. I put
Oh.
everything into my power.
He's smart.
Yeah, I'm smart. I got willpower. Fortress can't read my mind. Call back to episode 2.
We love a callback.
What do you got?
I got 1 out of 1, bitch.
I got 11.
Fucking.
So I understand that this does look broken. I do want to reiterate, you are fighting someone operating on the highest level essentially possible
Yeah.
in this game. And he just, the flat of his knuckles here, straight into your chest. Again, he pulls it back. He pulls the punch at the exact right moment to make you not scoot backward, but flip ass over tea kettle just right onto your butt. The wind comes completely like just removed, wind removed from your body, but no damage taken. And as you're down on your back, he stands not over you, but like next to you and looking like down at you. He stays kind of in a stance, but less so. He goes for more of a down block, and one comes up here. And there's a moment where he's like waiting to see if you're going to try to get up. He's not moving to attack.
I think he like tries to do some sort of like more constructs, but it just kind of like flickers out and dies.
Mm-hmm.
Like he gets,
okay, sorry.
Yeah, he gets embers out of like something, but it just fades into smoke.
As soon as that happens, his arm and fist that are down in this down block position, his fist kind of down by his knee, overturns and the palm opens, reaching out to take your hand and help you up. And he begins to say, before you take it, he says, "You've proven that you know your strong areas. You command a battlefield using your space, knowing that your strength is in distance. But I know that too. And I'm not the only person that you're going to face if you choose this life. Who can get inside that distance? I'm just a man. You'll fight people who are, I won't say more, that's a judgment call, but I will use the word beyond. I'm sure you can think of a multitude of only your peers in this program whose abilities you probably aren't prepared for in this exact regard. Take Porter, for instance. He teleports directly into your blind spot, into your immediate radius. Are you ready for that? Do you take his hand?
Ooh, I don't know. Sorry, all I can think of is just teleports behind you. No, I don't think he does. I think he kind of, you see the grass just kind of start to singe around him as he just looking up at Tonitrus.
Okay. So wide-eyed, staying on your back, sort of looking up at Tonitrus, in the moment where your ears are still ringing from like the collision of your ass into the ground, part of that ringing in your ears brings you back. It brings us back into a memory of only the previous night, Saturday night, to a promised meeting where that ringing in your ears fades into the memory of a distant-ish roaring crowd, a rowdy crowd. As we find you not necessarily on your back, but reclining in a cushioned leather seat in Decker's private box, overlooking the ring as a fight is happening. Not a normal fight, not one that you've seen here before. You see that inside the ring are two very tricked out and modified robot fighters. Very BattleBots looking, not big bipedal like real steel robots, but like on sort of Wall-E tracks with buzzsaws and like hammer fists. And you see that on the outside of the ring, on opposite sides, there are sort of like extreme gamer setups. you see there are two figures on opposite ends of the ring who are sitting at these setups in like swiveling chairs that are surrounded by monitors and keyboards, and they are also pulling holographic interfaces in and out of the screens, managing damage, controlling the robots, essentially at the helm of this fight, controlling these robots, these robot fighters. And you see a buzzsaw just sort of across like a hard, maybe like wrought iron surface, and it just barely kind of leaves a scrape and it wheels back. You're at a comfortable enough distance. There's like a little bit of sound dampening in here, so that there's like some privacy, but you can still enjoy the crowd. It's not a very crowded night. You know, a lot of people aren't coming here tonight when they could just be here tomorrow for the cool event, the big championship. It's a decent crowd, but it's, you know, you've seen bigger. Decker steps in with two drinks that look very much like just a clear carbonated liquid. And he puts them both down. He goes, "Sorry to keep you waiting. In solidarity, I had to dig back into the tap and find something appropriate to you. Do you like lemon lime?"
For a second, I was scared that you really splurged on me and brought out the club soda.
Well, this is the club's soda.
Lemon lime is great, though. Thank you, Decker. Oh, gotta get the true outfit because I'm sneaking out.
So, as he sits down in his own chair, he brings the armrests down and sort of folds his hands over his stomach. He smiles down at, you know, whatever is going on below. And then he raises up a shimmering sort of field in the, like, in your field of vision in the front of the box. And what you know this to be is it's almost a visual dampening field. And it creates a tinted windshield sort of effect, but made of pure energy, so that you can see out, but people can't see in. And he goes, "So, in the interest of not keeping you waiting any longer, I'm very curious to know what it is that you would like to discuss with me."
Oh, many things, but I guess I'll cut to the most pressing things on my mind right now.
Please.
About a week ago, nearly a week ago tonight. Shut up, sister. I hate you. I had a very interesting conversation with someone who knows a bit about what's going on. I'd like to say that it led to more revelations, but it more just compounded that I don't know enough. So I'm just gonna out and say it. You know my clone?
Yes. I think it's safe to say that everybody in this city knows your clone.
Well, as you also might know, then he is quite dead.
And a damn shame at that. And he like raises his glass and takes a sip of it.
I was wondering if you know where his body might be.
Well, very astute of you to use the word might. I do hear many, many things. That's my job. But I will be the first to admit that perhaps my only true blind spot is the inner workings, the mechanism of the government. Now, I operate on a very basic transactional relationship. They don't bother me, and I don't bother them. Now, they come in every so often to make sure things are up to code, that everything is operating ethically. Now, people come in here convicted of crimes, of course. Now, that cannot be controlled, but what they do here As long as it's following the rules, all consent forms are in order, well, they leave me alone. What choice do they have? In return, I make sure things are on the up and up, to the best of my ability. And that ability is quite great, if I do say so myself. That being said, one does hear the occasional interesting tidbit. Now, that island, colloquially referred to as Alma Island, it's not a particularly secretive place on the surface. I mean, Alma is supposedly an open book. It's not even where the seat of government is, and I'm sure you know this. It's simply where their research facilities, maximum security prisons, anything that needs to operate with a little distance between people whose lives might be in danger, or people whose brains might be in danger of knowing too much. Now, on paper, the most logical location for your friend's body to have been taken would be the Ark, the Allied Research Center. But considering the interesting scuttlebutt about corruption in the government and other nasty rumors, I'd put good money on a theory that they're not bringing that particular body to the most obvious location, the first one everyone would think of. Now, take what I'm about to say with a heaping helping of grains of salt, because, as I said, this is all rumor. But I've heard tell of a place underneath prying eyes, and I do mean literally underneath, a subterranean place of more secret research. It's all a bit hush-hush. I've never actually heard anything verbalized. It's all, you know, when you hear a conversation and you know that people are speaking in code, but you don't know the code, but you know enough codes to know you're hearing a code. It's that. And I have gathered one particularly interesting thing that might be of value to you. It doesn't have a name per se, not one that we can speak aloud. But this place that I've heard of, this shadowy facility, in the writing I've only seen it referred to as this. He takes out a card, takes out a very fancy looking pen, clicks it, and draws something on it, and hands it to you. The image that you're looking at on this card is the symbol of negative infinity. It's a minus sign followed by the infinity symbol. As far as that's concerned, I'm afraid that's all I have for you.
Damn, you really weren't lying or being hyperbolic when you said that we couldn't say that. It's just a symbol. I thought you were pulling my leg, but okay. Negative infinity, underground. Great. Thank you for that. Well, I have two more if you'd entertain me.
Oh, believe me, I am very entertained.
The next one is, how do you... I'm an up-and-coming conspiracy theorist that is not deterred by the fact that I might just disappear if I look too deeply into things. So I'm wondering how, if you would have any advice on how I would learn more of these salacious government secrets, if you have any.
Government secrets are some of the only secrets I'm not particularly interested in. No matter how bad things get, my business runs the way my business runs. Though, I will admit, since your, shall we say, appearance into the spotlight, I have been getting some visitors. Ones I've already mentioned to you before. But they have started asking me questions. When was the last time Igneous came for a fight? That sort of thing. You already know that they're hanging around down there most nights that a fight is happening. I have, of course, told them nothing. You can choose to believe me on that point or not, but I should think by now you know that I'm a man of my word. They'd have to fight me if they wanted something real. And I don't think it's coming to that. But if it does, well, maybe then I'd worry.
Well, I do believe that you wouldn't just out and tell them. I have a feeling that you live and die by the value of your word.
Well, my life has a certain amount of value to me as well, and if it is to be believed that there are snakes in the grass of our government, if those snakes try to bite me, well, self-preservation kicks in.
Can't
be
blame you
helped.
there. I suppose this one will really test how far your ears can reach. You know, back on the actual continent, I heard some, I'd say juicy if it wasn't for the horrifying implications, but people have been going missing there apparently. Superpowered people. And the ones that they do find, well, they're not able to say what happened to them, if you get what I mean.
Oh, it's not just them with powers who are getting lost in the fray. Well, I'm sure you're aware that many of the cities that are under the thumb of, shall we say, those who would be considered disreputable by Alma's standards here, those are placed in very prime locations along No Man's Highway. Often can be traced to connections to various gangs that roam free along that place, and one that was even a thorn in their sides was, of course, the Boundless. Now, after what happened with Pantheon, the Boundless, there was something of a crusade against them. And for a while, we behind the luxurious walls of our glinting city have allowed ourselves to believe that they're gone, but one with far-reaching ears such as myself, one whose business is to keep in business with people that others may turn their nose up at. Well, I know a little better, if such people are to be believed. The ones who live out there, the ones who are well connected to crime families, they're shaking in their boots. Word is the Boundless aren't as dead as people want to believe.
Oh, shit.
See, back in the day, the reason the Boundless were so dangerous is because they always seemed to know exactly where they needed to be. No matter how secretive the shipments were from city to city, the operations that heroes would do to try and mitigate the damage, the Boundless always seemed to know just where they needed to be and how to strike into the heart of whatever they deemed profitable to their crusade. We're starting to see that again. Members of crime families disappearing off of trade routes, smugglers and the like, mostly ones no one would miss, but the few that would, well, they're the kind that would talk to me about it, aren't they? Of course, I can't give you any real names, but this is not the kind of thing you turn a blind eye to. Not in this business. All things considered, well, conspiracy is only profitable when it's structured around a figurehead. And you, my friend, well, you're the fucking figurehead of the century now, aren't you? I'd hate to see you caught up in this. If the Boundless are back, well, that's not something worth tangling yourself in. Or me, for that matter. And he takes a long drink.
Well, so far, the Boundless aren't on my list, unless they're somehow involved in all this. Which I hope not, but if they are, then, well, I have space on my wall to draw another target.
Well, Igneous, I can always count on you for some very pleasantly illuminating conversations. And I wish you nothing but luck. As long as I'm not in the crossfire.
Well, I'll try and keep you out of it. Just if something goes tits up, don't be surprised if I may call on your help in exchange for a favor or more juicy gossip, that is.
Well, let me leave you with one last piece of advice as an exchange. You go looking for corpses. Don't be surprised if you find your own. Good night.
I've already found it once.
You say that to yourself as the door closes. And you return to the moment the ringing in your ears stops. You look up at Tonitrus with his hand outstretched to you. And it still is.
I think that like singeing of the grass that's been going on, it becomes embers and just fire just explodes from out of him. Just in a radius and then just straight up in this extremely hot and violent just pyre.
I am not going to make you roll for this because somehow you have just psychically linked to the idea here. As he doubles back, he sort of backflips back. You see that there is some sort of like fire retardant element to his like chest plate. So he doesn't immediately catch fire, but there is like smoke as the flames lick past him and up a little bit into his exposed jawline. He moves back just in time and catches himself very quickly. His reaction time is basically superhuman, or at least maximum human. But he looks at you with surprise and approval. And in this moment, when the flames die down, he goes, well, you catch on quick. This is all about using what you have. And your power is sheer force of will, concentration, intelligence, things not unlike the foundation of a true martial artist. It may manifest differently, but the quicker you can snap your mind into focus, the better. I understand that these times that we are in at this moment are not exactly lending themselves to pure focus. But sometimes we have to push through. Sometimes we react before we think. It's our job to know when we're able to do both. And you have now unlocked the ability to use your reaction. Your reaction being something you can only do once per round. But when you are hit or about to be hit, you can roll a straight D12. And depending on if it's a success or a failure, you can throw up either 1 or 2 D6, or if you crit, it'll become 4. Either of damage reduction or of damage to the person who is hitting you if they're in range of you.
Damn.
Nice.
Did I say that clear enough? It's like a reactionary fire shield.
Yeah, so it's 1 or 2 d6.
Depending on what you roll on your D12.
It's a hellish rebuke, except you can also use it to take stuff away from your own damage, right? Or damage that's being taken to you, right?
And if it's applicable, let's say if somebody shoots an arrow at you, if you actually manage to mitigate all of the damage using this, then it might like disintegrate a projectile or something.
Ooh.
Do you finally did you stand up when you did your big explosion?
Yeah, he's collecting himself up, and he does not look like the most happy camper right now.
Oh, baby.
He kind of just like gathers himself and then just shoots daggers at Tonitrus. He is not happy.
He takes a step back, standing very much amongst all of you, between you. And then he lowers his guard. There is a sort of digital modification element to his voice that when he speaks, like it's coming through his costume and like resonating loud enough for you all to hear, even if you're like at a distance from him. You all are united by something powerful. Experience. Things that a lot of others at this school have yet to understand, but they will. You just have had a head start. I needed to be sure that that head start did not translate to complacency. Tonight was a great victory, even more so because it was done in the name of a friend and it was done smartly. But that is not to say that the man that you defeated there is not incredibly dangerous. And if you are to face him again as heroes, not only is there a chance that he can remember you from your fighting style, but depending on the nature of that interaction, the nature of your choices, he won't underestimate you again. And that's one man. That's enough for tonight. You're free to go home.
Can we have our card back? We're the ones who won it.
He takes it out. He walks over to Haramon and hands it to you. And he says, Haramon, would you stay back for a moment? I'd like a word.
Haramon has long since, watching him ping pong to all of my God, words just left me. All of their teammates has long since put the knife away and has just sort of just been, hello, I'm here watching this happen. But I think actually in preparation for their turn, I think they got on the ground and kneeled on the ground in a very, I've never taken a martial art before, so I don't know if this is a real thing, but the way that you kneel on the ground with your on your toes with your hands on your the top of your thighs, is that a real thing?
I think so.
Hermon does that, just waits, and when he reaches down to like hand them the card, they look up at it almost in not disgust, but it's clear that it's something that they do not want to touch. They don't want this thing that this card represents. They don't want it. So in it, I think when they get up, they reach past his hand and they grab him by the forearm and they pull themselves up, but they don't at any point touch the card. And they say, "Yes, sir."
He looks back at the rest of you with a look that is not an unkind look, but a hard one. I won't say neutral anymore. It's discerning, with many layers behind it. And he is waiting for you to leave.
Seeing that Haramon is not going to take the card, BB will walk past them and maybe like touch them on the back in a way that is like supportive and not and is steering clear of like scars or places that they have that BB is aware is like trauma points. We'll like touch them on the back. We'll take the card from Tonitrus, and then we'll turn on our heels and walk out.
And Haramon gives you a look that is almost guilty. Like there's a recognition of, I have a tendency to do things with, namely have conversations with people, but do things without you. And this is another one of those times.
I don't know if BB's able to read all of that.
That's fair.
But I think she does like give you a half smile. That's meant to be like, we'll be back at home. We'll be waiting. And then dips. And kind of looks over at the other two to see if they're going to come too.
Jeremy does so, but he's in a headspace, kind of just being quiet. He doesn't offer much of his usual chipper conversation on the way back.
I mean, so it just follows Jeremy and BB.
As soon as you guys are all gone, he turns back to look at Haramon. His eyes sort of fall down to... All right, do you have any weapons on you?
I mean, they have their knife, which is being hidden by an element of their disguise. And they have their collapsible staff, which is tiny and in a little pocket or pouch or something. Again, hidden by that.
Yeah.
Very strategically hidden, but not currently in their hands anymore.
Okay. So then his attention actually goes from the door where everyone left from over to you. And in the moment that his gaze travels to you, we transition to Snapshot as you enter a location for a prearranged scenario between the two of you as she looks up to meet your gaze. So I'm going to ask you where this takes place.
I actually didn't think about this part.
Can you imagine someone coming up to you and be like, "Hey, do you want to go on a prearranged scenario with me?" Because that's my favorite thing, and that's how I'm going to ask people out on dates from here on out.
Is that not how everyone asks people out on dates?
Not
Must have
me,
been-
but now it is.
Yeah, I must be doing something wrong.
I think they're actually on a stroll through the like a section of the training forest that Haramon blocked off.
Oh,
Yeah, for their time.
okay.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, Snapshot definitely did get there first
Mm-hmm.
this time, and that's kind of how we transition here. So you walk in. Which one of you speaks first?
Good. Definitely Snapshot, I think. I think Haramon's a little too nervous.
Hi. Hey.
Hi. And I think it's important to note the fit. Always got to note the fit.
Mhm.
Snapshot is wearing a powder blue hijab with her iconic black leather coat that goes down to their mid calf, with I think like a pretty like cream jumpsuit, and the makeup on point. I think her edges are laid and you can see them, you know, just peeking out. And she's wearing earrings, but they're actually pins designed for people who wear hijab, that, you know, you pin them where your ears are.
Mhm.
And they're these sort of long dangling matching to the jumpsuit colored like on a chain little puff balls that sort of dangle down and move, you know, when she moves. And that's what she looks like. And then Haramon is just wearing like a nice fitted, like kind of also a jumpsuit, but it's like closer on the catsuit side. And is like, I got you this. And it's a little bouquet of flowers.
Wow. That's so great. I didn't do that. I didn't think about that. I sort of thank you. Now I feel like a bad person.
No, you're not.
Not because of you. You didn't make me feel like a bad person. No, I am in this moment. I'm like, in the sake of, like, for emotional honesty, right? Like it's totally my own thing that how are you?
I'm good. Yeah. And Haramon awkwardly offers their arm to her to take.
Oh, yeah. And she goes in, and the sleeve of that leather coat brushes against your wrist. And in that moment, that sensation of leather hits something very fresh. Another leather sleeve that has sort of crossed the threshold of your grip recently. And you can't help but have that flash of sense memory so close on the heels of the memory itself in your mind. And you think of Helix for just a moment, and then it's gone.
And I think also there is another flash layered in that flash.
Mhm.
It's like two at once of a more distant memory of a different kind of leather
Mhm.
touching my skin. And I try to, you know, also wipe it away from my mind. And we just sort of start strolling in through the forest. I think there is like a setting that you can do where it emulates real forest sounds. So it's not like they're just walking in this silent section of the training forest. It's
Mhm.
like acting like a real forest, like there's birds chirping and stuff.
And there are some real birds too. Like, it's a
Yeah.
forest. They're going to come hang out in the forest.
And Haramon just, everything about this is so awkward.
Mhm.
Cannot stress enough. Haramon's like, what have you been doing recently?
G- Training. So we did something with Team Prestige that
Oh.
was interesting. Monarch has so much energy, and I really like her so much, but I'm also like
Overwhelmed.
easily, yeah,
Mm.
that's a lot. Because sometimes I try to, if I can, right? Like one of the strategies that I learned personally, when I'm feeling like kind of socially like, oh, wires, alarms going off, crossing, all that. What I'll do is, I'll try to like sort of like match the energy of the person I'm with a little bit more.
Mm.
But sometimes I can't bring myself to go, like she goes off the scale. So I can't get there
Yeah. No,
all
I
the
get
time.
that.
You know?
I think it's, well, what I try to do with her is I just sort of let her go because she does the work for the both of us, you know?
Yeah. That makes sense.
It can seem like I'm very charismatic on the outside. It's just all veiled by sarcasm, really. So anytime someone is doing the work of a social interaction, it's good for me. If that makes sense.
No, yeah. Yeah, I get that. I do get that. You made a strong impression with Diamond Soul.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, she liked you a lot. She liked you tons.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, I like her. Again, I know most of the Nova heroes, but I've done research on all of them before coming here, but you never really know what to expect of people, and I try not to give them any respect based on reputation before I meet them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really
Mhm.
nice to know that she's a genuinely good person.
Yeah, I mean, she really is. She was already my favorite hero before, which is always nice when that works out. I've been talking for a while.
I think, yeah, and I think as we like keep talking about other people and not ourselves,
Mhm.
they naturally sort of undo the sort of chivalrous arm linking. Now they're walking,
Mhm.
and I think Haramon sort of like does this thing where they're walking kind of at a 3/4 angle.
Mhm.
They're like giving full attention and very bouncy, trying to like keep the energy going, but still being able to not trip over tree roots or anything. And I think at one point, Snapshot does something. Maybe Haramon cracks a small joke and Snapshot genuinely laughs at it. And it's the one moment where there is a genuine connection, I think,
Mhm.
beyond like, ah, I'm awkward, I'm on a date, ha ha ha. But instead of like, oh, it's like, oh. And it's either they readjust, she readjusts her hijab, or she like moves her earrings like sheepishly, or she says something, but it triggers a memory. And overlaid on Snapshot's face is the face of a strawberry blonde Japanese woman.
Mm.
And Haramon stops and blinks and stares at Snapshot.
Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was about to trip over a root. See, look, and then I didn't want to like interrupt your flow, so I didn't want to like yeah. Okay, we can continue on.
Roots are tricky. Sometimes they'll be your downfall. Roots.
So anyways,
And it kind of goes on like that for some time. And we arrive at the moment where you sort of have made a couple laps.
mm-hmm.
And it's been long enough, but also maybe not like as long as you might have thought.
Yeah.
And you reach a point where you both know that it's done. Neither of you entirely know how to initiate the like, well, bye. And you find yourselves like standing there at the edge of the forest, sort of looking at each other and smiling, or at least she is.
Mm-hmm.
And in that long moment of held eye contact, we come back to Tonitrus's eyes locked on yours. And he says to you, I want to relay that I am particularly impressed with your progress. That's not to diminish the accomplishments of your entire team, but many others would say something along the lines of, you have a wisdom beyond your years. I find that to be a very limited worldview reflected in that statement. Years are relative to the person who's lived them. While I may not know much about your life, I'm starting to form a picture of who you are as a hero and who you could be. I think you are wise proportionate to your years. Tonight, you showed great restraint and judgment and staying out of that fight. You're a watcher. But you're also a great thinker. Not in the same way, perhaps, as Jeremy or Silhouette. But in a way that connects your eyes to your body, to your mind. That pipeline takes years to cultivate. And I do see years in you. I am grateful for what you've done for Helix. I hope that in your watchfulness, you've seen the effect you've had on your team. All of them. No, Fortress would prefer that I don't tell you this, but I think it's prudent for you to know. If Pantheon had not returned, if it was not requested that you be on her team, I had decided to choose you as the 5th member of mine. I understand I have a reputation for choosing martial artists and investigators. I know that you are neither, at least on paper. But the distinction between your mind and body is blurrier than many others here at the school. There is going to come a time, probably sooner than you'd like, where you're going to have to make a choice. The world and many many who live in it closest to you are going to want you to be a leader. You're going to have to decide if you want to be that leader. Because whether you like it or not, they're already looking to you. That's it. He waits.
I think I need to just focus on getting my shit together first before I make that choice. And there's a flash of ice blue eyes where Tonitrus's are. And then a flash of bright green eyes with ginger eyebrows. And then Helix's eyes also flash. Just one after another. Just like the whole week catches up to them again.
When Helix's eyes flash in your mind, it's worth noting that they superimpose easier than the rest. The set of his jaw, his posture, the impossible stillness of him are all things so like Helix. And knowing what you know now, perhaps these things, these qualities in Helix are so like him.
I am honored that I almost made it. You were my top choice. Well, actually, you were fighting with Diamond Soul, but no. I don't know. Leadership is tricky, and right now I'm just simply not up to the task, but we'll see if I'll get there.
Well, it didn't particularly suit me. I accept that. I made that choice. And now it's set before you as well. I don't believe you the type to become lost in others' expectations of you. But I would caution you to get lost in your own expectations of them. I understand that your teammate campaigned somewhat to be on my team. And to my shame, I will admit that I did not believe that I had anything to offer that could help her. The environment in which she learned to fight is largely designed for utility. Her body is an extension of her will, and that's hard to break. Even harder to slot into a team. But in a short time, you've done something for her that I largely believed could not be done. That is your true power. It's getting late. You should probably head home.
Can I suggest something? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna wait till you left, but I think it'd be very cute if we were all waiting outside of the battlefield just
You
a
never
ways
actually-
away.
yeah, you never actually left.
Yeah.
I think Hermon says simply, "Yes, sir." And they walk a couple steps away. But then they turn around. They don't look over their shoulder like Helix. They fully
Mhm.
do a half turn. And they say, "As you can probably imagine, he and I are connected in a very special way. Didn't know it at the time when I first felt it, but just like how specific it was. But thank you for, I mean, I won't presume to know your relationship, but it seems like you were a welcoming hand when he came back here, and thank you for being welcoming to me in the same way, I guess."
Helix is on his own road that he has to walk. That I can help divert that road through this place. Help him find some meaning in that. That makes my relationship to him not that unlike my relationship to you, to everyone in this place. I'm your teacher. And then he nods to you, and you get that look again that you're coming to learn very well is like, you need to go. But it's softer now. Or maybe it's not. Maybe your perspective is just shifted.
Content with that information, file that away. Haramon just nods back and unknowingly meets the rest of their team outside. Sorry, guys. Everyone just wants me all the time. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I think we all share that sentiment.
I get the feeling that he didn't beat you up. Now I feel like you're left out of that.
We could beat you up if you want.
Yeah. What is this favoritism?
I would love to see you all try.
And then do we all walk back home together?
We all walk into the Moonlight Academy.
As you all walk back to your house together, step up to your door, and you see that sitting on the ground in front of your door is a cardboard 4-pack of bottles of root beer.
Wait. Oh, wait, no, that is enough for each of us.
Yeah. If no one goes to pick it up, maybe we'll pick it up.
Mhm.
And open the door for everyone to go inside.
I think Haramon opens one and then opens their phone and essentially takes an Instagram boomerang of them raising the bottle to the camera, and they text it to Helix and they say, "Good night, H."
As you take this picture, we push in on the image of it on the screen. The image of all of you together. Then we push in closer, just on Jeremy, on his face, into his eyes. And we transition over to another screen where his face is present. The same sort of mugshot that's been going around, his PDP picture of his face on a desktop. The image clicks away. We hear some typing. And we see the window shifts over to another tab. Live streamed footage of your fight. Your fight with Blackjack. As we see Jeremy in disguise, fire surrounding him as he avoids attacks. We pull away from the screen to a large desk in a darkened room with curtains that are closed. We see a gold plaque, a name card on the desk. It reads Albert Rose. And as we pan up, we see a man sitting behind that computer, watching it. We see a man in his late 50s, still with a full head of hair, combed very neatly, blonde, going gray on the sides. A hard jaw that's just starting to be framed by jowls. And very hard, focused blue eyes. He wears a black suit, the red tie, as he just watches with this very vacant expression. You see he opens up a drawer as the different lights from his screen are playing across his face. He takes out a cigar and a lighter. He flicks the lighter on and a flame comes to life. Lights the end of the cigar. Flicks it out. And as the fire disappears, we cut to black. And that's where we'll pick up next time.
Yay!
Oh, thank you guys, as always, for our little structuring Tonitrus lesson
Hell yeah.
with my little
Dad.
Tonitrus cosplay.
It's not a Tonitrus cosplay until it's a turtleneck.
That's true. That's fair. We haven't seen Professor Tonitrus yet.
He wears a turtleneck when he's teaching.
Oh, you know he does. He also wears like a
Spoilers?
tweed jacket. These are good spoilers.
Oh my
He's
god.
a teacher.
Is he
He's
like
wearing a
single?
But he's wearing the superhero
No
mask the
one
whole time,
knows.
right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh god, it's so good.
We are leaning as heavily as we possibly can into the motif of character wears regular clothes or formal wear, but still a mask, because it's my favorite thing. And it's so
It's
funny
excellent.
to me. It's so funny to me. So thank you guys for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the deep emotions and the lessons from Tonitrus. May he enlighten all of our lives. Until next time, keep it super. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.